But remember this? But why wouldn't you? Because this is the Thar, the three-door SUV that Mahindra launched way back in 2020, which went on to become one of the box office hit. It achieved unpredicted success. Mahindra didn't expect that. Mahindra didn't expect it to sell the kind of volumes that it did. In fact, I'd bet that the Mahindra Thar three-door probably, in terms of just sheer scale and size, outsold even the Gypsy, Maruti Gypsy, as a niche lifestyle SUV. But my story is not about the three-door. I'm here in Kochi to drive the new five-door Thar, and I'm going to tell you more about what it is all about. So keep watching this story to know everything about the new five-door Thar.
This is the Mahindra Thar Roxx, the five-door version of the iconic three-door version Thar. But then again, this new Thar, the Roxx, is set to become an icon of its time. This generation has got a whole new cult item coming up. So, I'm here in Kochi to drive this. Let's see what this Thar Roxx is all about. Now before I take the Thar Roxx out on the road to get a sense of what it feels like to drive, let me quickly take you on a walk around of the design details that differentiate the five-door Thar from its older sibling, the three-door Thar. Now most of the treatment of course is at the front end to get a very distinctive look. And if you notice, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 slats out here compared to the 7 on the three-door Thar. Now these are not just single vertical slats, they are wider elements as well. Right behind them, there is a fine wire mesh grille as well. You've got these projector headlamps with a C-section DRL. In the three-door Thar, remember the DRLs came on the blinkers. You've got these two loops under the hood that allow you to, or rather help you lift the bonnet up very simply. You've also got these very sophisticated hood latches that are on the outside. The bumper, you got this two-tone finish, black and grey element, which protrudes quite a bit, almost about a foot outside or rather ahead of the front grille element. Now, I believe all of these changes have been incorporated, not just to give it the Thar Roxx a very distinctive look, but perhaps Mahindra also intends exporting this to other markets, and there could be a clash of interest with another manufacturer that makes a very similar vehicle, which rather is the inspiration for the Mahindra Thar. So to avoid those conflicts of interest, well, you see all these design details, these changes that have been put on the Thar Roxx. Now from the side, it's but obvious that the Thar Roxx is much longer than the three-door version Thar. Now the wheelbase is about 4,850 mm, which is about 400 mm longer than the three-door Thar. Now to keep that masculine look intact, Mahindra has continued with that very butch styling. So you see these squared off wheel arches. You've got this time around 19-inch alloys and tires. Now this Thar Roxx has been shod with MRF Wanderers. These are a 255/60 R19 profile, and these are 80s, which means you can take this SUV anywhere. Well, but this is a rear wheel drive version, so not really everywhere. Nonetheless, coming back towards the rear end, you also see this element. Now this is, well, an antenna holder, an antenna stand, and this is not just ornamental. If you're into off-roading, you get out onto long expeditions, overland trips, and you want to put a two-way radio, well, this is a space where you can put those UHF antennas. You can tag them along on this end over here. You've got exposed door hinges. You've got a fairly large footboard. You've got these big, large mirrors on the outside. The door handles also very chunky elements. Coming back towards the rear, and which is now the new addition, you've got the third and the fourth door on either end, and you can see that it's got the vertical door handles. Here's the interesting bit though, this door, ignore the mess inside, but this door opens up to almost 90 degrees, which allows you better ingress and egress from the cabin. At the rear, you still continue with the 19-inch configuration, but if you notice, you've now also got disc brakes on the rear wheel as well. So you've got discs all around, and I think that's a fantastic bit. Now here's where the design bit can get a little polarized. If you look at it, it's got the same Armada-ish silhouette, which is where this whole confusion or other discussion about this being more of an Armada rather than just the Thar. Well, that's also because if you look at the roof line, you see this bumped up element over here, and this effectively is the same bit design language that you'd seen on the Armada or the Bolero for that matter. But nonetheless, this is metal. There are some fiber panels over here as well. This is fiber, this is metal. The door elements, if you look at the C-pillar, it slopes downwards. You've got a quarter glass, which is actually like a quarter glass, and this is a fairly large element, and this design here is what is drawing a lot of polarizing opinion. Some like it, some don't. My opinion, I'm not a big fan of it, but if Mahindra didn't have to do that, well then this design would look exactly similar to what you're seeing on the Jeep Wrangler, because that has got a squared off rear end with a clear element. Mahindra, to distinguish itself, well, had to cut the C-pillar and make it something unique and new, and well, that's what they've done. So obviously, the big question on everyone's mind is going to be, what is the space like? What are the comfort features like? How easy is it to get into the rear seat? And is this a significantly better, significant improvement over the three-door Thar? And to all those questions, I'd say yes, yes, and yes. Ingress and egress is definitely better because, as you can see, the doors open up really wide, 90-degree wide, so you can get in and out very comfortably. You've got the footboard and you've got this really sturdy grab handle that allows you to step into the cabin very easily. The knee room, the front seat has been adjusted to my driving position, and as you can see, there's ample lot of space for my knees to fit in over here. The headroom, very, very generous. 3 people can sit abreast very comfortably on this rear bench. It's also got a flat floor, which means there is no discomfort whatsoever, even for the person sitting in the middle. And this is a 60-40 split seat, which means you can fold the seats down if you want additional cargo room, you want more luggage space, and you're just 2 passengers, then of course you can just fold the seats down in any configuration that you want and put in larger items in this cabin as well. So yes, Mahindra have hit the nail on the head. They've got a fantastically packaged, well packaged interior. They've got a fantastic SUV in the Thar Roxx. Now the rear, the design still stays more or less the same as what you see on the 3-door Thar. Not much has changed. You still got the C-type LED element on the tail lamps. The tailgate, well, it swings out sideways. You've got the spare wheel mounted on that tailgate, and of course the rear windscreen flips upwards. But here's where things get significantly different. The boot space, well, that is significantly larger than what you've seen in the Thar 3-door, and I think that is that's the standout item on the new Thar Roxx. There is so much more luggage space inside this cabin. Unbelievable. That's where the practicality and the utility of this vehicle comes in. Now here's something I don't quite understand, and this is either a miss on the design team's part. Well, first you've got an inside door handle on the tailgate. I don't understand why that inside handle is being placed here. Simply because there aren't any seats here, there isn't any room for anyone to sit inside in the boot area, but you still have a door handle. The other element is these exposed cable covers. Well, I understand the fact that this is a flip open windscreen, but you see these elements, these cable stays, these cable covers all over the place. They're in the front door, they're as well as here in the windscreen element, even on the tailgate. These do not move from inside the body panels. These are exposed and they're on the outside, and I think this was something that Mahindra could have worked on even better rather than keeping them open and exposed like this. Now, there is a sequence to shutting or rather opening the tailgate. The first bit that goes down in this case is the windscreen, and then you shut the tailgate. And finally, I'm driving the Mahindra Thar Roxx. Does it rock my world? Well, I'll come to that in a moment. But it definitely carries forward the Thar DNA. Keep in mind, when Mahindra introduced the Thar way back in 2020, it went on to become a cult item. It was an instant success. And it wasn't enough for consumers who wanted more of the Thar because they wanted a larger SUV, they wanted more space, they wanted to take more members of their family or their friends, and Mahindra's finally answered all of their pleas with this, the 5-door Thar, which has now got 2 proper rows of seating and enough space in the boot to carry weeks worth of luggage. The Thar Roxx is a significantly different beast compared to the 3-door Thar. There have been changes incorporated in every department. Almost every aspect of the Thar Roxx has gone under the knife to become an entirely new animal. Take for instance the engine. While it still uses the same 2-liter petrol, turbocharged petrol, and the 2.2-liter turbocharged diesel, the power and torque ratings have improved significantly. You now get about 129 kilowatt of peak power, which is about roughly 177 PS of peak power, and in the petrol you get about 380 Newton meters of peak torque. In the diesel it's about 370 Newton meters of peak torque. So, well, no guesses, the petrol is certainly the better option to buy. Now the Thar Roxx that I am driving, well, this is the rear wheel drive version and it comes with the 6-speed automatic gearbox. It does not have paddle shifters, it does not get a sport mode, and well, I really haven't felt the need for it. Though it would have been nice to get paddle shifters behind the steering wheel so that I could play around with the transmission a bit. Performance is impressive, but don't expect it to be explosive, don't expect it to blow your mind away. It's more than adequate for any task that you'd put the Thar Roxx through, which means if you had to seat 5 people in the Thar Roxx, you had to put in all of their luggage and head out for a weekend drive up some steep hills, or even if you wanted to get through, well, a jungle, crawling through the mud, the Thar Roxx has got enough torque and power to handle anything, to climb any mountain, to go into the deepest of rivers. In that sense, it's a fairly competent SUV. Well, the steering has got variable ratio, which means it's speed dependent. At lower speeds it will get lighter, at higher speeds it will weigh up. And it does this pretty nicely. It's comfortable, low speeds, you're crawling through traffic, it's light enough to actually feel unsafe, but as your speeds increase, well, that weight comes in and it feels a lot more confident. The ride quality on the other hand, now there's been a lot of work that's gone into the suspension as well, because keep in mind, when Mahindra increased the wheelbase of this SUV Thar, we had to account for the fact that there'd be more people sitting inside this, there'd be more luggage being loaded into the Thar Roxx. So all of this means that the suspension had to be worked on. So you've got double wishbones at the front end and you've got a 5-link multi-link suspension at the rear, and this is more than adequate for it to handle whatever surfaces it has to be driven on. Now the Roxx that I am driving, well, this is a little bouncy, but as I was going through the display to see what the tire pressures were like, I realized, of course, it's been overinflated, which is about 34 psi. Now I've dropped pressures and ride is a little better, not significantly better, which also means that you certainly need to load up this vehicle for that suspension or for the damping to work in a better manner. Is there any body roll in the Thar Roxx? Well, not really. Keep in mind, Mahindra have reworked the chassis, and it's not just been made longer, but it's also been made lighter, almost 18% lighter than the Thar 3-door chassis. But most of all, what I do like about the Thar Roxx is the NVH levels. I think this is the intent to build the Roxx to appeal to a consumer who wants the luxury and comfort that a quiet cabin, only a quiet cabin can provide. So I think Mahindra have hit all the high notes in that regard. To enhance the value proposition in the Thar Roxx, Mahindra has also included ADAS or Advanced Driver Assistance Systems Level 2 in the Thar Roxx. But to be honest, I mean, in a country like India, we've seen that it really doesn't work much. It's got some fairly annoying safety features, especially the automatic braking and driving through this small fishing village here in Kochi, that braking system keeps getting activated. Now, I still haven't figured out how to switch that off, because I do know that in level 2, systems allow you to switch off the automatic braking, but we haven't been able to figure it out as yet. That's also because the infotainment system on the center console that you get, it's a fairly complex one. There's a lot of detailing and a lot of valuable information, a lot of the information that has been kept standard irrespective of whether it is the rear wheel drive version or the 4x4 that you're driving. We aren't sure yet if that information will change course in time, whether Mahindra will offer limited menus for the rear wheel drive variant or offer that full array across all variants. One grouse that I do have with the Thar is the quality of the seats. Now, it's fantastic that Mahindra is offering ventilated seats on most of the variants of the Thar, but it would have been nicer if they could have increased the seat squab length so that there's a little more under thigh support. Over long distances, maybe, and I haven't driven it as yet, but maybe the Thar could be a little more tiresome than necessary, simply because you just don't have enough under thigh support, and even if you try and adjust yourself, well, you're going to be sitting more upright to try and get a little more under thigh seat area. So what do I think about the Thar Roxx? Well, here's my opinion. If you're the family man but you still want an SUV that looks butch, that has got that masculinity, that is strong, overpowering, and has fantastic presence on the road, then your option should definitely be the rear wheel drive version, because you really aren't going to be taking your family on a 4x4 jaunt, climbing up mountains, going rough trailing it through the jungles and forests of India. So the choice that you would make is the rear wheel drive one. Automatic, absolutely, because that's what you're going to use and that's what you're going to enjoy using in the city. The other part about it is that the 4x4 powertrain, I believe, is going to be fairly expensive. Now, prices for that haven't been revealed as yet to us, but in the coming weeks we will know more about it. But the way I see it structured at this point in time, the 4x4 versions are going to be fairly expensive. At the top end, the automatic 4x4 or the manual 4x4 is going to go way beyond 21 lakh rupees ex showroom, which is a fairly steep amount of money to be paying for something like the Thar Roxx. Overall though, the rear wheel drive makes a lot of sense. I like the interiors, very comfortable. There's a lot of space for the rear seat occupants. There's a lot of cargo space as well, lots of luggage room in there. The ride quality is fantastic, the steering is brilliant, and so are the engines. I enjoyed the 3-door Thar and mechanicals it offered, and that same legacy continues in the Thar Roxx as well. So I believe Mahindra has another winner, and so do you if you invest in it. As the sun goes down on today, I do believe the sun is still rising for the Mahindra Thar Roxx. Now, if you've liked our video, do press the bell icon to like and subscribe to the Offline World, where we've got a lot more interesting stories for you coming to you from the Offline World.